Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for the issue we're about to go through. So, we are continuing along with our X-Men in reading order. So you're going, well, why the hell does he have Avengers Annual 10? Well, because the X-Men do appear here. It is also the first appearance of Rogue. And when I was young, I had no idea how Rogue was. I thought it was Rouge. So, um, as a kid, so that's how I referred to her. Um, this issue is, like I said, Avengers Annual 10 from 1981, and it actually takes place between X-Men 149 and 150. Here we see Captain America, here we see Iron Man, we got the Brotherhood. I don't like evil mutants. I don't think they'd refer themselves. We got Spider-Woman, we got a shocking mystery guest. We'll know who it is. And of course, a cameo appearance by the Uncanny X-Men. Now, one last thing about the cover. The cover is by Al Milgrom, and you can tell here by these thick lines, he's an inkslinger, but that is not who does the inside. So, just wanted to point out, because the inside is done by one of the absolute greatest artists of all time, Michael Golden, who ends up coloring this issue. Now, I have this issue in a few ways. I have it on the Epic Collection. I also have the facsimile edition. Um, I also have. I think they had released it as a 99 center facsimile edition during the thing. So got it in a few ways. I do not have the original. So, the original's like, depends. It really depends. Some days you can get them for, my comic book store is actually selling it for 75. Um, it just depends on when you get it. Sometimes it's over $100, sometimes it's under. So, we're in San Francisco, and we see Spider Woman here, and she's grabbing somebody, and you can see here falling from a bridge here. Um, so she's out. She was actually pushed. Okay. So by friends betrayed, Claremont is the writer, and Michael Golden is the penciler and the colorist. He is being inked by somebody else. Now, I want to make a um, quick note here. Claremont was writing Miss Marvel during this time, but the book got canceled. He actually has, and Marvel has released the final two issues of what would have been that run, but issue 25 would have been Rogue's first appearance. However, the book was canceled before it got to that, so that's why. So some stuff is going to happen here that would have been covered during that time. So real quick, this is just spectacular. So what a thing here. So the woman was unconscious before I reached her. This is no suicide attempt. Someone tried to kill her. I'm glad I chose tonight to explore my new home. So she lives in San Francisco. I wonder how she can afford the rent. Superheroing detective work must pay well. So I really do like her costume. The original Spider-Woman costume is beautiful. So, certain costumes should never be changed. This is one of them. Spider-Man's are there are certain costumes that are just beautiful. Spider-Man's, the original red and blue. This one is just gorgeous. Superman, yes, with the underwear. You don't change it. So, Anyway, she's like, I'm losing my lift. And so they both end up falling into the water. So they come up, and Spider Woman says, "It's so cold, I can't feel it. Sorry, I can feel it even through my insulated costume. But the woman doesn't have that much protection. If I don't get her ashore quickly, she'll freeze. I wish that was my only problem. The currents here are fierce, and the tide is sweeping us out to sea. We landed near the middle of the channel. That means at least a mile swim, whichever way I turn. I'd best get a move on it. The longer I wait, the less chance we'll have." So now it's morning here, and it says here 3 hours later. So of course we get the skyline here of San Francisco. Love the colors that Michael Golden chose. He is a phenomenal colorist. So and so it says here that Lieutenant Sabrina Morel, from the San Francisco Police Department, works in homicide, and she's here on business. And so she says, "Good morning," or "Bonjour, Spider Woman." Comment. And of course, this little kid's name is Madeline Pryor, who is not related at all to the Madeline Pryor that'll show up in the X-Men at another time. So this is a wonderful panel here, of Spider Woman kind of sitting there on the wall. And she says, "I felt better, Lieutenant, but I'll live. I'm waiting to hear about the woman I rescued." And she says, I've got a make on her. It's very interesting reading." "Doctor, how's our Jane Doe?" asked Spider Woman. "She'll live, poor thing. I guess back then they didn't have HIPAA or privacy." "So, what do you mean? What's wrong?" "Physically, nothing. Her body's in superb shape. But as near as I can determine, her mind is non-existent. She functions at the level of a newborn infant. We better canvass all the Bay Area mental hospitals. With such an extreme condition, she's probably been institutionalized since childhood." And the cop says, "I'm afraid you're wrong, Doctor. We ran a check on her fingerprints. Your Jane Doe is Carol Susan James Danver." Of course, it is Miss Marvel, who is now Captain Marvel. And of course, age 29, Major, U.S. Air Force, retired, Chief of Security at Kennedy Space Center, and yada, yada, yada. It says here 6 months ago she disappeared. So Miss Danvers was stripped of all identification. Her clothes of the labels her assailant wanted to make her as anonymous and untraceable as possible. We'll need her help to find him. "I understand, Lieutenant," says the doctor, "but unfortunately we've no way of getting inside her skull to determine the type and severity of the damage. All we can do is watch and wait and hope for the best. Either she'll recover or she won't." So, and now Spider-Woman says, "The good doctor may be unable to learn precisely how badly Carol is hurt, but I know someone who can." So she is going to end up calling the X-Men here, and we have Professor Xavier's mansion here. This is actually a beautiful rendition by Michael Golden. What a artist this guy is. Unfortunately, his work is sparse. There's just not that much, unfortunately. So you look at this. Look at these huge eyes, very manga style, on Kitty Pryde here. And so Kitty answers the phone and says, "Professor's in the danger room, Spider-Woman. Hang on, I'll get him." So the X-Men are still fixing the danger room. And if you saw my video for 149, I made a comment that this is taking forever. So we've got Nightcrawler, the Professor, and Storm here. And this time, she walks through, and the Professor's like, "Thank you for letting him know." She phases, and remember in the previous issue he yelled at her. So, and here he's like, "Oh, thank you, child." So And it lets us know that the battle between the demon took place on issue 143. I have a playlist. I've covered every issue since Giant Size going on up. So I'm doing everything in reading order. So, Spider Woman Ororo, she sounded pretty Nightcrawler, and so he teleports um out. So they're look at Colossus just holding this. What an artist here. So um of course she's she says here that Colossus sounds miffed. So he teleports because he Colossus needed help here. Um he She ended up having to fight that demon, so she feels like this is all her fault. And Storm says, "True, that battle wrecked much of the school, and it will cost a fortune to set things right. But what matters, and it is the only thing that matters, that you survive. Machines can be replaced, especially those you love cannot." So the way you read it is it would have gone this way to this way here, and so what she says, is because Colossus was complaining because he says, "I've been holding it absolutely motionless as you and Kitty requested since breakfast. It only weighs 5 tons." So, all right. So Professor X uh, answers the phone and he says, "I agree, Spider-Woman. Your situation does seem to indicate a need for my special abilities. I can be in San Francisco by mid-afternoon. I'll see you then." So everything looks to be put together, and Nightcrawler says, "All right, let's check." But boom, it did not work. So Professor says, "I've mentally examined her. She is unhurt." Um, and Kitty's like, "Well, back to the drawing board." So Storm and the Professor flew to San Francisco on the Blackbird. He, of course, is using his telepathy. And the cop says, "I've been on the phone with Miss Danvers' folks. They'll be here tonight. Her dad took the news pretty hard. Her mother said something weird, though, that our questions could possibly be answered by the Avengers and Miss Marvel. They're New York based superheroes. Miss Marvel's one in the team, but a bit out of my jurisdiction and my league. I'll do what I can, Spider Woman, but I offer no guarantees. Breaking this case won't be easy under the circumstances. Even unofficial help would be welcome if you're interested." So, Professor X uses his telepathy and calls out for Spider Woman and says, "I'm communicating telepathically to preserve the secret of my mutant abilities as you do your true identity as Jessica Drew." Professor X continues here. "My mind scan is complete, Carol. Oh, sorry. Carol's condition is far worse than we feared. Her conscious mind has been completely erased. She is a tabula rasa, a blank slate, but her condition is not hopeless. Many of her critical memories and personality traits should be buried deep within her subconscious. With time and effort and luck, I believe I can draw them to the surface. Your suspicions are well founded. This is not a natural state. Carol was an exceptionally strong and courageous person. She fought hard for her mind. My preliminary scan of her subconscious picked up this residual image. I believe it is her assailant. Her name is Rogue." So, we now go to chapter 2. This story is divided in 5 chapters here. So, we are now in New York, Central Park. Here it says mid-afternoon. Great panel here by Michael Golden here. And of course here we have Captain America being slammed by Rogue of all things. Oh, her foot in his head. Poor little Cap, you never had a chance, darling. And Rogue or Chris Claremont will keep doing that to show her southern accent. I possess all Miss Marvel's memories. I know how you fight, how you think. All right, so I'll just go to normal. That made it easy to catch you off guard. Most importantly, I possess her power. And when I touch you as I did her, I'll absorb your powers and memories as well. Any flesh to flesh contact, no matter how slight, will suffice for the transfer. But I think this way is much more fun. And she kisses Captain America. Hey, now Captain America can go to the Me Too movement and say, hey, I didn't consent to that. I have to be careful this time. Remember my training. If I lose control again, stay in contact too long like I did last night in San Francisco with Miss Marvel. The transfer will become permanent. But she's being villainous at this time. She hasn't joined the X-Men, so she's sort of a villain. So why is she concerned? You think she would be like, whatever. So I know part of the story we're not absorbing, but it's just interesting. It's most likely just for the reader here. I like this costume of. It's not my favorite of Wonder Man's costume, but it's number two. I like his late '80s, early '90s one, and then his original. Maybe this would be number three, but I like it. Um, and so we got Hawkeye here. The Avengers are just kind of talking, just going through. We got the Beast, we got Jarvis, we got the Vision, Jocasta, the Scarlet Witch, again Hawkeye, and Wonder Man. So, and Captain America is flung right through, and oh, and the coloring is just magnificent here. And so during this time, Stark International was located in Long Island. Then in the 80s, he moved it to Los Angeles. I don't know where it is now. I haven't read. So I read Captain America. I'm sorry, Iron Man a few times. I don't really follow Iron Man that much, but I have Matt Fraction's run because I like Matt Fraction. I have Warren Ellis's run. I have Brian Bendis's run, and that's about it. I really don't collect Iron Man, so I don't know where he is now. But he gets a thing and says, the Avengers priority alarm. I notified Cap that rather Iron Man, would be unable to attend today's meeting. They wouldn't call, especially with that signal, unless things were deadly serious. So he presses the button. Iron Man here, Jarvis. What's the problem? And Jarvis says, Captain America has been assaulted, sir. We need Dr. Blake immediately. And Iron Man says, I'll take care of it, Jarvis. Expect us in 15 minutes. So Wonder Man's like, let's move to the Meta Lab. And then, of course, we get some wonderful screen tones here. During this time, Dr. Blake was the secret identity of Thor. So Iron Man says, Don, it's Tony Stark. Implausible as it sounds, Cap's been mugged. It sounds bad. You're needed. You'll make your own way to the mansion? Good, I'll meet you there. And so he hears the intercom and says, what is it, Mrs. Arbogast? He says, you have a visitor, Mr. Tart, Mrs. Janet Pym. I told her you weren't to be disturbed, but she insists. Send her in and cancel my remaining appointments. I'll be out the rest of the day. So, Iron Man, but I thought Tony Stark. And at this time, they didn't know Tony Stark was Iron Man. So he says, he was called away, but I'm glad you're here, Wasp. Captain America's been seriously hurt. All the Avengers have been summoned to the mansion. I know your husband isn't full-time member anymore, but we can certainly use yours and Yellow Jacket's help. Of course, Shellhead. It sounds so awful. Will Cap be okay? I'm afraid it's too soon to tell. Jan, what are you doing? I can't move. How perceptive. This module generates an inhibitor field that effectively renders all power systems completely dysfunctional. So before I move on, I absolutely love this. Michael Golden is one of Todd McFarlane's inspirations. So this is a very McFarlane is a clone of Michael Golden here. So it turns out that it wasn't the Wasp, it was Mystique. And so Iron Man says, "Who are you?" "I am Mystique. I lead the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants." Again, they wouldn't refer to themselves as evil mutants. "You might call Rogue my protege. Rogue, Iron Man has been neutralized. Proceed with Plan A." "I copy, Mystique. It'll be my pleasure." And Mystique says, "I pity your friends, Shellhead. Like you and Captain America, they'll never know what hit them." So, and so now Spider-Woman has gone to New York, and Professor Xavier stayed in San Francisco. And you can see here Rogue running through. And here comes Thor in this good panel. I just really like it here. So, he strikes the hammer and he becomes Donald Blake. I am covering the Walter Simonson run of Thor, which explains why he is no longer Donald Blake. Although that was done by, oh my goodness, Donny Cates. Well, not undone by Donny Cates, but we find out where Don Blake's has been. So, and then Rogue hits the poor doctor. So, and Rogue is like, "Your first patient is going to be yourself." But here we got Spider-Woman. Great. God, Michael Golden is so good. And look how he connects the panel, leaving no gap at all. So, "Leave him alone," as Spider-Woman jumps toward her. Then she introduces herself. And so Rogue kind of gets her off. And Donald Blake is going to try to make it to his stick so he can bang it and become Thor. And oh my goodness, beautiful panel here of Rogue and Spider-Woman fighting. And I love this. "Hold, woman, Thor knows not who thou art." And she says, "I'm Rogue, darling, and you have my eternal gratitude for handing me my victory." And so she touches Thor, and he's like, "Oh." So she's absorbing Thor's power. The transfer doesn't seem to be complete. Perhaps I can still stop her with my Venom Blast. So, and I love this. It tells you here, but the Venom Blast did not work. She's already immune. And so here come the Avengers, and Wonder Man's like, "What's that commotion?" And I love Iron Man. "Cripes, Thor's being trashed by a woman." And so Vision is like, "The female is unknown to me, but my memory cells recognize her antagonist from our security files as Spider-Woman." So, and Vision is coming toward her, and of course he can't. She can't absorb his powers because he's not flesh and blood. So she says, "Oh, I'm just gonna have to destroy him." And so she's basically says he'll probably reduce his density to an ephemeral state and then make part of his body solid with mine, hoping to stress will stun me. But if I use Thor as a shield, fear of hurting his fellow Avengers should throw him off balance long enough for me to administer an instant coup de grace. So, great panel here. God, Michael Golden is so good. Here comes Wonder Man, but he is no match for her, does the same thing. And so she's going to try to add his powers, and then she goes, "Something's wrong. I touched him, but nothing happened. His eyes, they're not human." So, and of course it tells us, indeed they are not, and neither is Wonder Man himself, because he, of course, is a living of pure energy. So Rogue is going to get away. It says, "That's 3. I couldn't affect 2 more than Mystique and I bargained for. If I stay, I could probably kill them all, but I can't afford the risk." Again, why? I mean, I know that Claremont probably at this time already has plans for her, but I mean, if we're gonna make her a villain, then let's commit to the heel. So, all right. "With what's at stake, Mystique would skin me alive. Ta-ta, darlings." I hate to win and run, but I have a prior engagement. Don't fret though. We'll do this again some real time, real soon. And Hawkeye's like, I can hardly wait. What brings you here, Red? Aren't you based in Los Angeles? And she's like, San Francisco. I'm investigating an attempted murder of Carol Danvers, better known to you, Avengers, as Miss Marvel. So now we are in chapter 3. So we're gonna get a bit of a recap of stuff that's happened in the Avengers that I have not covered because I'm covering the X-Men. And this part of the Avengers, it's not something I had quite covered at this time. Maybe in the future, but we'll see. I'm assisting the San Francisco Police Department. You can confirm that with Lieutenant Sabrina Morel of Homicide. I love this panel. God, he's so beautiful. See what I mean about Dave Cockrum? Look at this. Ugh. All right. Sorry if you're wondering why I bring up Dave Cockrum, is because I've been complaining about him on his second run on X-Men. So she continues here. 6 months ago, Miss Marvel and Carol Danvers vanished simultaneously from New York. 3 months ago, according to Lieutenant Morel, Carol surfaced in San Francisco, where she lived peacefully, unobtrusively until last night when I believe Rogue tried to kill her. You seem to find this astonishing. Why? Because we thought we'd never see Carol again. She was only an Avenger for a comparatively short time. I think I knew her best, yet in retrospect, I hardly knew her at all. I think that is the Scarlet Witch talking here. And Wonder Man says she was a strong, self-reliant, take-charge lady. Some people found that a bit daunting. She also a very private person. Because of that, some believe her to be emotionless Ice Maiden. They were wrong. And so we're going to get a recap of stuff that happened in the Avengers, and I'm going to go ahead and cover it. Normally I skip through recaps, but in this case, because we haven't done these Avengers issues, I'm going to go ahead and recap them because it's important to how this story ends. So here we go. I'll try to read fast to try not make this an hour-long video because Claremont sure loves to put in a lot of words. So we're walking on the beach, she and I, talking without warning, she collapsed. It was morning sickness. Literally overnight, Carol had become 3 months pregnant. In less than 100 hours, she carried a baby to full term and gave birth to her son. In less than a day, that son grew to manhood. His name was Marcus. His father was Immortus, a godlike time traveler who has aided the Avengers on occasions. Marcus had originally been born and had lived his life in Immortus's domain in Limbo. But he found the loneliness of that place unbearable. He resolved to escape to Earth. To do that, he teleported Miss Marvel to Limbo, wooed her, won her trust and love, and implanted his essence within, creating a condition that resembled pregnancy. Yes, people, these are comic books. We're going with it. So, hey, if we can have Galactus, we can have mutants, and we can do this. So, but Marcus was still bound to Limbo. His very presence on Earth disrupted the local time stream. We had crazies popping out of the wazoo, dinosaur spaceship, knights in armors, the works. While we fought them, Marcus was in our lab building a machine he said would save the day. None of us trusted him, but it all happened so fast there was no time to get a handle on things. To me, it looked like Marcus was the bad guy playing us for suckers, says Hawkeye here. And you can see here, God, this panel is beautiful. Look at this. Oh. So I destroyed his machine. My mistake. Without the machine, he couldn't stay on Earth. He had to return to Limbo forever. Then, surprisingly, Carol offered to join him. He'd been in love with her from the start. That was partly why he'd come to Earth, to be with her. Now she'd fallen in love with him. Thor opened a dimension portal with his Uruhammer, and off they went. This was in Avengers 197 through 200. Again, have not covered it as of this recording. Who knows in the future? I may have an Avenger. It may be a showing up in an Avengers playlist someday. All right. And so we continue here, hopefully to live happily ever after. So now Spider Woman asks, I assume since she was living alone on the coast, that thing didn't work out. But why didn't she try to contact you? She still possessed the power of Miss Marvel, else Rogue wouldn't have stolen them. Why didn't she ever use them? Beast, how are your patients? And by the way, he is not a medical doctor. But hey, I guess a doctor is a doctor in comic books. So B says, I've run comparison scans with the data you supplied on Carol. Spider-Woman, we're lucky. The effects on Cap and Thor seem to be temporary, though. I've no idea how long it will last. Any word... Oh, Scarlet Witch. Any word from Iron Man? Nothing since we first phoned him. I'm afraid we'll have to assume the worst. Spider-Man continues, our foe certainly knows her business. Her first strike neutralized your strongest, most experienced members. Even if we find Rogue, defeating her won't be easy. And Beast says, one step at a time, my darling Dark Angel. In a way, it's fortunate that Miss Marvel was one of those attacked. Her hybrid Kree-human metabolism broadcasts a unique energy aura. When Rogue absorbed her power, she took that aura as well. Our scanners should have no trouble locating her. Voila! That is so convenient. She is crossing Randall's Island, moving almost due east. Where could she be heading, says Jacosta. I believe I know, and if I'm right, our troubles may have only just begun, says Spider-Woman. And so we are now at Rikers Island. And so it says here it was originally built as a city jail. It still is a city jail, but now it is a home for super criminals. And so what they're going to do is get Destiny out. Destiny, of course, can see the future. So be ready, my friends. Our deliverance is at hands. And so bombs away, happy landing. And so they're throwing Iron Man out. This is infuriating and embarrassing. So long as Mystique's inhibitor is attached to my armor, I'm helpless. So they just kind of tossed him, and he just falls right through. And they happen to get into this little machine here that powers the energy cells, which allows the blob to come out. You can see here they were holding the blob. Oh, what a wonderful panel. Man, oh man, I absolutely love Michael Golden art so much. And so they're basically getting out the Brotherhood. We've got Avalanche, we got Pyro, and Destiny. So everyone's getting out, and here you can see Avalanche using his powers. Soon they put in their costumes. I really do like Pyro's costume here. So Blob says, I gotta hand it to you, Mystique. You said you'd bust us out of stir, and you did. And Avalanche says, if that compliment doesn't make Mystique stay, Blob, I don't know what will. And Pyro says, a valiant try, Avalanche, but I fear such irony is lost on our corpulent comrade. And so Mystique says, Destiny, oh, my beloved friend, it is so good to see you. Now, we know, by the way, real quick, I probably wouldn't have chosen blue because there is a lot of just kind of mutes. I probably would have used some orange in the background, but I digress. Anyway, of course, we all know that we always knew. I mean, I think it was always because these two were just too much. So they were playing both mom to Rogue. So even then in the 80s, we knew that they were in a relationship. Even I in high school still went, I think something's up with these two. So the fact that they married them this year, I'm like, I thought they were already married so whatevs. But I really always thought they were already married. So it gladdens my heart to hear your voice also, Raven, but we must be gone from here quickly. And Rogue says, "Too late, group. It looks like my rematch with the Avengers is coming a whole lot sooner than I figured." And Wonder Man yells, "Avengers assemble!" Well, somebody yells it. I just assumed it was Wonder Man, but who knows. "You were right, Spider-Woman. This is a prison break. Who are these bozos anyway?" And so they explain here that it is the Brotherhood. And it says X-Men 141 and 42, which is Days of Futures Past, which I have covered and have it in my X-Men playlist, where this video is actually also residing. So Avalanche says, "I hate to make a lousy situation worse, Witch Lady, but you people have a lot more to worry about than Rogue." And so off he goes using his powers. And we got Pyro here. Pyro cannot make flame. He can control the flame, so he uses these things to create a flame. And so he creates like this phoenix bird. And so, oh, beautiful panel here. And Destiny says, "Spider-Woman is dangerous, Mystique. If she rescues Iron Man, his power could tip the scales against us." And Mystique says, "She's the one who saved Carol Danvers' life. Leave her to me, Destiny. The Brotherhood is in your hands. Guide them well. Control your emotions, Mystique, lest your hatred for the Danvers woman lead us all to destruction. Take care, Raven, Darkholm." And so you can see Mystique changing. And I always thought it was Irene, but is it Irene? I don't know. I'm just gonna say Irene, but the IE tends me to believe it's Irene. So, but I've always said Irene. So we have Wonder Man trying to avoid getting fried here. "I'm out flying that thing barely, but how the blazes do I fight it?" And Mystique says, "Pyro, transform your Phoenix into a hammer of flame." When Wonder Man loops behind the Firebird. "Now, as good as done, love." She goes, "Huh?" Or, sorry, she. And Wonder Man is like, "Huh?" And then he screams, "No! You called that shot right on a button, Destiny, even though the flames don't seem to be hurting him any. No problem. You and the Limey set the sucker up, and the Blob will finish him." And kapow! And off he goes, tearing this poor building away. Luckily, they're on Rikers Island, so it's probably just a couple more prisoners or guards or whatever. So, all right. The Vision says, "The guard tower only marginally impaired Wonder Man's progress. His trajectory indicates that he will land somewhere in the West Bronx. I fear it will be some time before he rejoins us." I just never figured the Blob to be super strong, but... And Jacosta asks about the Scarlet Witch. And she's like, "Ma, right, Jacosta. I just need to clear my head." And so Hawkeye says, Wandies. Oh my god, I hate these nicknames. So, Wanda's out. The witch is pretty woozy, man. These creeps are murdering us, and they haven't even unlimbered their big gun Rogue yet. And Beast says, "Take heart, Hawk. The bigger the challenge, the better I like it. And this challenge is a doozy." "Cowabunga, sweetums. The Avengers have only just begun." And so Destiny says, "Pyro, Hawkeye will fire a smoke arrow to mask the Beast's movements while he attacks the Blob. So what? No way he's gonna hurt me. The smoke is dispersed, Destiny. What happens next?" And so, point of fact, Tubbo, who said I was going to hurt you? And so, "I'm merely attacking you en route to my true target, Pyro." And so, "Destiny, I do believe you've made an error," says Beast. And so, ta-da, for my anchor, and for my encore, and Destiny says, "Beast, do you play chess?" And he says, "Naturally." "What about it?" "Then you know the stratagem of sacrificing a lesser piece to take out a major piece of one's foe." "Huh?" I knew precisely what you would do and precisely where you would land. True, Pyro has a headache, but his will be nothing compared to yours, and everything is going to land on poor little beast here. So, shoot, babe, I wanted to waste that X-Men myself. Hey, the vision's rising out of the ground like a ghost. And so here comes the vision, puts his hand in there, but Rogue just wails him from behind. So, and Hawkeye's like, Vision's down and he isn't moving. Heck, he's lucky he's still in one piece, considering that Rogue hit him with that combined strength of Thor, Cap, and Miss Marvel. If I had any smarts, I'd vamoose, but that ain't my style. You know, Michael Golden's art just makes this story, even without Captain, Claremont got rid of the big three and still manages to make a very compelling, interesting story here. And Destiny goes, Avalanche, Hawkeye mustn't fire that arrow. And he's like, gotcha, Destiny. And so he does indeed fire that arrow. But it's the flare one. Blob, of course, says, my eyes, I can't see. But Avalanche still manages to get Hawkeye. The ground's rising up, sweeping me like it did our Quinjet. Lost my bow and I'm losing my arrows. So, Blob's in bad shape, Destiny, but I'm pretty much okay. And Destiny says, good, things are well in hand here. The critical element lies within the prison where Spider-Woman seeks Iron Man. She must not be allowed to restore his power. Help Mystique find her, Rogue. Slay her, or we are lost. So, but we are in the generator room here, and Spider-Woman did manage to catch him. But, of course, we got Mystique, who is in the Nick Fury garb here. And, of course, Iron Man says, that's probably not Nick Fury. And Spider-Woman says, okay. I'm improvising here because I'm trying to hurry here because it's been a long time here and we're trying to get to the climax here. So we can see Mystique shooting Iron Man, and of course she just gives up the position. Again, I love these panels that Michael Golden does here. And Mystique's like, Rogue told me how fast and agile Spider-Woman was, but she has to be seen to be believed. I'm firing this M16 in full automatic, and my bullets aren't even coming close. So, let's see here. So, Spider-Woman fires a Venom Blast, but misses. And so, Rogue's getting there and sees somebody, and she says, I think I arrived in the proverbial nick of time. But she's hit, and here comes Iron Man. And Spider-Woman warns him that she's got everyone's powers, and she goes, I know the lady's capabilities, Spider-Woman, and how she acquired them while I was their prisoner. She told me everything in graphic detail. By heaven, I mean to use it. So, sorry, but you removed the inhibitor module, and your bioelectric venom blasts have recharged my energy cells. My armor is operating at full power, and by heaven, I mean to use it. There we go. So, my goodness, Sugar, you certainly are no gentleman, but then what else can you expect from a Yankee? And she's like, I felt his punch. The power that absorbed from Thor and Captain America must be wearing off. I possess Miss Marvel's ability permanently, but I don't know if they'll be enough to defeat all the Avengers. So, Destiny says, Mystique's plan depended on speed and surprise. The longer this struggle continues, the worse our chances become. We must act quickly, decisively, before the tides of battle turn irrevocably against us. Give me a few more seconds to collect my wits, Destiny, and I'll fry those sanctimonious yobos. And, oh, look at this beautiful panel of the Scarlet Witch. You want time, Pyro? How about a few more years in prison? And she uses her power here. Just, boom. Wonderful. Destiny, she's down, unconscious. Ah, she yells. So Spider-Man. Iron Man hit her. So um and she drops Spider Woman. Don't worry, Spider Woman, I'll catch you. No, look at Rogue. She's vanishing, and she's like, I'm fading fast. I can't absorb the powers of most of the Avengers, and fighting. And the ones I can affect don't have anywhere near the raw power I'll need against Iron Man. And so Rogue calls out to her, and so um you're running, but what about the others? They'll be captured. So will we if we stay, Rogue. We can do our friends far more good as free agents than as fellow prisoners. Not climb aboard or be left behind. You're not gonna leave Rogue behind. So, um, Spider-Man says, Iron Man, the courtyard, look. And he's like, good grief. I love the energy, the way it's going that big circle here. God, this is McFarlane really. And we've got basically Pyro and Avalanche just going out of with the Scarlet Witch. Just beautiful. Look at this. Look at this cape. Oh my goodness. He is a great colorist too. What an artist Michael Golden is. So Iron Man wanted to go after Mystique and Rogue, but they're not able to because he needs to help the Scarlet Witch. So he does, and so he smashes that thing, knocks everybody down, or almost everybody down, and Hawkeye uses his arrows and ends up knocking down Pyro. And so um Waterman shows up with all this water. He goes, I guess you won't need this. Um Iron Man says, Wonder Man, you're all right. He says, of course I am. All the blob did was hit me. So, and here comes the Beast, and he's all right too. So, and Avalanche is still not down. Fight is not over. So, um, Beast actually ends up falling on top of Avalanche, knocking him down. And the Blob's like, if you think everything's going your way, don't you heroes? Well, you got to beat the Blob. Say goodbye to your robot, sweetie witch lady, because I'm about to stomp him into scrap. And so he's about to squish the but of course it doesn't work. He goes right through it. But the Beast uses his heat ray on him instead. So soon both of them tag team the Blob, and the Scarlet Witch uses her hex powers, and here comes Spider Woman using her Venom Blast, and they're about to get the Blob. And basically, you're gonna use some old-fashioned concrete here, makeshift concrete to stop them. So we are now in the last chapter, and we are at the X Mansion, and the Quinjet is arriving here, and here come the here are the X-Men at the pool. So, and here is Carol Danvers here. So, X-Men, would you and Jessica please accompany me inside the house? I think it would be best if Carol's reunion with the Avengers were a private one. So, so when Storm says she wishes she could stay, Carol says, thanks, Ororo, but no. Are you sure you're alright? I'm not sure of anything, Jess, except that this is something I feel I have to do. I understand. If you need a friend, call. I'll hear you. So, alright. B says, hi, Carol. How you doing? Better than expected, Hank. I'll never regain all my memories. But Professor Xavier has helped me remember who I am, what I was. I remember my family, I remember the Avengers, and how I came to leave them. Bits and pieces mostly. I've got ways to go yet. And so we're going to get to our finale. It's kind of just a lot of talking here, but it's kind of important of everything that sort of we haven't covered yet that'll kind of go through here. But I'm forgetting my manners. Please sit down. Would anyone like some iced tea? I'm afraid Wolverine took the beer with him. And Hawkeye says, "You're looking real good, Carol. What happened to Marcus? After you left with him, we didn't expect to see you two lovebirds again." And she says, "I'm sure you didn't, Hawkeye. Marcus is dead." And she's like, and Captain America's like, "What?" And Iron Man says, "We're very sorry, Carol. You two made a wonderful couple. We hoped you'd be happy together. Is there anything we can do to ease your pain?" And you can see she just slams this. "Didn't you do enough to cause it?" And Beast is like, "Carol, what's wrong?" And I love the look here. "I'm sorry, Hank. Be not ashamed of thy womanly tears, Carol. Thou hast lost the one thou didst love." And she's like, "No," and she slaps Thor. He's like, "Huh? I didn't love Marcus. I never loved Marcus. Don't any of you realize what happened months ago? What Marcus did to me?" Guys, maybe our visit was a mistake, says Wonder Man. "Hold it. I was there, lady. You told us you cared for Marcus. You left with him on your own free will." "I left because I had no choice. Marcus gave me none," she says as she cries. He was a sad, pathetic creature possessing the abilities of a god, the body of a man, the emotion and maturity of a child. In limbo, his every wish was granted. He saw me, desired me. He used me as a means to escape from earth to earth. And when that plan failed, he took me back with him. You saw it happen, Hawkeye. You, Iron Man, Thor. You heard his story. Marcus said that Immortus's device could bend me to his will, but he didn't want me that way. He set out to win my love, and finally, as he told you, with a subtle boost from Mortis machine, he succeeded. So, but for all his brilliance, Marcus was careless. He made the fatal error in his calculations. When I gave birth to him, his body shifted fractionally out of sync with the rhythm of life in limbo. Where before time passed normally for him, it now passed at a fantastically accelerated days. In days after our return, he aged years. By the time he realized what was happening, he was too old and senile to deal with it. Within a week, he was dust. Free of his mind control, I learned enough of Immortus' secret to allow me to transport myself home. The rest you know. Carol, why didn't you return to the Avengers? Why didn't you at least contact us? Wanda, I never wanted to see you, any of you, again. I hated you because when I needed you most, you betrayed me. Um, so I kind of went like this, right? So now are we supposed to go back up? Um, we'll just go this way. I remember the first time I heard Carol's story when you pulled the memories out of her subconscious. I'd never seen such desolation on a human face as I saw on her, says uh this must be the other part. So this must be um Spider Woman with the X-Men. Through through you, Charles, I helped her relive those awful events. I shared her pain, her grief, her loss, and shame and her anger. And because you gave unsettlingly yourself, Jessica, she survived. No friend could have done more. With my ultra sensitive ears, I can hear every word she says. There's such agony in her voice, Charles. I want to go to her, stand beside her, help her. So do I, Jessica, says Professor X. But for our friend's sake, for Carol, we must not. So we get to the last 2 pages. There I was, pregnant for an unknown source, running through a 9-month term, literally overnight. Confused, terrified, shaken to the core of any being as a hero, person, a woman. I turned to you for help, and I got jokes. The wasp thought it was great, and the beast offered to play teddy bear. Your concerns were for the baby, not for how it came to be, not for the cost of me that conception. You took everything Marcus said at face value. You didn't question, you didn't doubt. You simply let me go and smile and wave a bouncy bon voyage. That was your mistake, for which I paid the price. My mistake was trusting you. Look at the Avengers, just like, oh, look at the beast. Even Iron Man looks sad. So everyone kind of looking down here. After a trauma like mine, it's easy to wallow in bitterness and self-pity, but both grief and guilt have to be faced, dealt with, exercise. There's there's more. There has to be more than being heroes, than simply defeating villains. You have a role, a purpose far greater than yourselves. You have set examples, lead the way. You represent what we should be, what we dream of becoming, not what we are. You screwed up, Avengers. That's human. That what is also human is the ability to learn from those mistakes, to grow, to mature. So now she's picking up the stuff. If you do that even a little, then perhaps what I went through will have a positive meaning. It's your choice. And Beast is like, Carol, what about you? What will you do? So we get to the last page here. Pick up the pieces of my life, start again, survive. I'm good at that. Carol, I would give anything for this never to have happened. We are so sorry. And she cries here. I know, Wanda. Don't worry. I'll be all right. So, the Avengers are now left to Quinjet. I just want to say the great coloring of Michael Golden here. There's a great sadness about you, Wanda. I keep thinking, Vision, what if Marcus had chosen me? We sought only to do good, yet instead we caused irreparable harm. No matter where the Avengers go from here or what we do, things will never again be as sure, as certain, as safe. I suddenly feel vulnerable, as I never imagined Carol was my friend, Vision, and you failed her, says a Vision. Yes, and that hurt is deeply is the realization that I'm capable of such failure. So we end with the Vision saying, Wanda, remember what Carol told us. Heed her words. Today we have faced some harsh truths about ourselves. But just as a sword goes through fire to temper and harden the blade, so will we, as individuals and Avengers, emerge from this travail stronger and more resilient than before. And the next time, perhaps, should there be a next time, we will not fail. Both we and Carol have been granted a second chance. My love, let us use it. Thus, we finally get to the end. There's going to be a compendium for this issue that's going to be on a separate video, so be on the lookout for that. So Avengers Annual 10 from 1981, Chris Claremont and Michael Golden, absolute masterpiece. First appearance of Rogue. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.